All right, we're recording now. Cut out all the boring stuff. Any corrections to the minutes? Any corrections? We'll last call. All right, seeing none, I will now entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the April 1st Senate meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Senator Turallo.
Second.
Seconded by Senator Gregory. Unanimous consent has been called. Is there any discussion? Any discussion at all? Discussion or objection? Seeing none, the minutes of the April 1st Senate meeting have been approved. That now moves us to public comment. Just as a reminder, Senators, please know, or just please be attentive to our guests as they take time out of their day to come and give public comment. If there's anyone that wants to give public comment, please unmute yourself and start talking.
Hi, this is Kelly Deniger. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
I am the manager of the Job Service Missoula, and I was asked to come and talk to you guys about unemployment insurance and what is going on with that with the CARES Act. Just a couple of questions. I talked with Mr. Flanagan, and he thought that some of the information that I provided might be helpful for you guys. Number one, the one thing that I told him is you're not going to know if you're eligible unless you apply. So you need to apply in order to be considered for any sort of benefits at all. You can apply at montanaworks.gov. It's all done by the computer. If you run into any problems, you can give us a call at Job Service and we'll walk you through that. Some of the employment that you have at the university, for instance, if it's work study, definitely won't count towards your wages for the base period of unemployment. But there are other things that working at the university might. So the only way, again, that you're going to know if you're eligible or not is to apply. There are also all sorts of safety nets for folks that may not have the money in the base period to be eligible that are covered in the CARES Act. We're in the process of working through all those, trying to figure them out. Again, your claim is effective the week that you file, so the time is of the essence. You need to file now to preserve that date, but you might fall into one of the categories that allow you to be able to get unemployment benefits, but you won't know unless you apply. So I guess, James, if there's anything else you think that I need to go over, I can't remember all your questions, but the reason for me being here is just to explain that a little bit for you guys to understand. If you have any questions, please call the Job Service wherever you're at across the state of Montana, and we'll be glad to help you. Missoula, our number is 728-7060. So.
And I do have a few questions for you if you'll take them. And first I have Senator Flanagan.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks so much for coming, Kelly, and acting on my invitation. I know that it's taking time out of your day, so I do really appreciate it. I was just wondering if you could expand more on what we talked about with the possibility that federal benefits may be coming through the same line that state unemployment benefits may be coming through.
Yeah, absolutely. The CARES Act is on the federal level. So it's part of the stimulus package that was passed by Congress a few weeks ago. The eligibility for the federal monies that are coming in are different than the eligibility for the state unemployment benefits that are here. We, even though you might not be eligible on a state level, you might be eligible with the federal rules, the new rules that are coming in. But the only way to apply for those benefits is to actually apply online with the state system. The state is in the process of going through all of those rules, the new rules that might make you eligible. For instance, if you're monetarily eligible, then there's one of the rules that you get an additional $600 a week. We haven't been able to disperse that yet. We're in the process of trying to figure that all out. but there are definitely some safety nets in the federal rules that might make you eligible where you might not have been eligible before. So again, I would just really encourage everybody to apply. If you even think you might be, if you don't think you might be, you're initially going to get a determination back that says that you're not monetarily eligible, but that's because the federal rules haven't been applied yet. So it's really important just to keep filing every week. And if you're determined to be eligible, you're going to get a check back from the time you initially filed. So again, please file. If you have any questions or you run into any problems, because the system is really overloaded right now, give us a call. We'll walk you through it. We'll help you file. We'll give you some hints. We'll do whatever we can to assist you. The main thing is to apply. You don't know if you're going to be eligible or not, and you may fit in the safety nets, but that'll help you get by. I mean, because lots of folks aren't working now and they're used to having some income coming in. So we really encourage everybody to apply. That's what it's there for. It's there to help folks. Let us help you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
I do have one more question. Senator Hahn.
Hey, Kellyanne, this is Morgan. We served on the Missoula College Dean Search Committee together.
Oh, Morgan. Yeah, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for
Good.
taking time out of your day. I had two quick questions. One, you mentioned delays and overload. Is there a significant burden on a lot of folks getting through to the state with questions right now as they file?
There is. The job service isn't normally in the unemployment business. They took it out of the local offices 25 years ago, but they've actually trained several of my staff to be able to answer questions because they just can't handle the questions that they're getting now. It's just not possible for them. So all of my staff are being trained in some way or another to be able to assist folks. So yeah, they're busy at the Helena number, but if you call the local office, you're much more likely to get a response. You might have to leave a message, but we're going to get back to you either that day or right away the next day. In most cases, you'll be able to talk to somebody right away, which, believe me, is totally different than calling the Helena number, because there just is, yeah, you probably won't even be successful in getting through. So give us a call and we'll help you out as much as we can.
Could I have a quick follow-up?
Yep.
And Kellyanne, are there any other resources other than unemployment that you could suggest students reach out for right now?
Well, you know, that's a very interesting question. Right now, the focus on the CARES Act, that the stimulus package that was passed, the most recent one, number 3, focuses on unemployment, safety nets for people that don't meet the regular requirements for unemployment. For instance, people that are self-employed, people that may not have enough earnings during that base period. So really the best way to find out is to file for the unemployment, because there's a lot of safety nets that are in there. The other focus is on employers, employers that are not able, because they have no revenue coming in, to be able to keep their business and keep their doors open when the lockdown is lifted. So that seems to be the two focus. But I do think that most people that have lost their jobs or not able to work are going to fall in that first category, that are in some way or another eligible for unemployment benefits, however it looks, either the federal rules or the state rules. So there really is a lot of safety nets involved in this. There was a lot of understanding that regular rules for the state unemployment are not going to fit in this situation, in this crisis situation, and they really tried to cover most people. So again, please do apply. Don't hesitate to apply.
Thank you.
You bet.
Any more questions? Any more questions from the Senate? Last call. Senator Flanagan.
Hey, Kelly, I just had one more quick question. So in the resources that I researched for unemployment, it noted that on the forms you're filling out, you should put that you're able and available. And that same resource also noted that this is usually kind of confusing for university students in terms of, especially during the COVID-19 crisis with them, how to be like available and able during the epidemic and whatnot. So I was just wondering if you were familiar at all with the able and available point, and if you could sort of expand on that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. It's confusing for people in the best of times, but in these times, it's very confusing. People, in order to receive unemployment insurance, you have to be able, available, and actively seeking work. People are answering no right now because they're not able to work because they're not supposed to leave their homes. However, you need to answer that question as if an employer were to contact you, everything is lifted, would you be available to go back to work for that employer? So for instance, if you're working part-time now as a university student in a restaurant, a lot of university students work in the restaurant area, and you were laid off because the business was shut down. When you answer that question, you would say, yes, I am able and available to go back to that employer when that employer calls me back. So you would want to definitely answer yes to that question. Good question.
Great, thank you again.
You bet, James.
Any more questions? Last call. All right, seeing none, thank you for coming.
You bet. Thanks, guys. Take care. Good to see you, Morgan.
Is there any more public comment tonight? Any more public comment? Last call. All right, seeing none, so ends public comment.
So begins the president's report. Can everyone hear me? I unmuted myself.
We can hear you.
Okay, cool. So we'll just start with a general discussion on COVID-19 and university related stuff. So I'll be happy to take any burning questions you might have, and I'll just check the speakers list. You can ask about anything from the grading policy, housing, whatnot. So I'll wait a couple seconds. Cool. Seeing none, we will now move into a discussion about the online public comment. Ethan,
Hold on. We had a few that came in at the last second.
Sorry. Senator Kiefer, my bad.
No, you're fine. I just wanted to give folks an update on some of the off-campus housing stuff. So there's a Kaiman article out today explaining how Lewis and Clark shortened their vacate notice period from 60 days to 30 days. And then I was luckily able to get rent removed from my charges for the next month that I wouldn't have been living in. So that's been pretty nice. It's just a charges appeal form that people need to find if they want to argue against having charges on their account if they're moving out within the vacate notice time. So that's all.
Thank you, Senator Kiefer. Senator Corkish.
Yeah, I'm just curious with the survey that was put out for commencement, if you know yet or not, just what our response rate for that has been, and if it's been good or bad. Or...
Yeah, thanks for asking. I asked today, and I was told that they haven't had the opportunity to view the responses yet, but that within the first couple hours of it being sent out, there were at least 300, and I imagine more since then. So. Senator Tarallo.
I read the Kaiman article today about the students from Jesse being moved into, I believe, Knowles. Jesse was always one of the more lower populated residence halls, but are there any plans to do any further condensing as far as the residence halls are concerned?
I don't know if there's plans for any further movement of students other than students in Panzer, which I know they're looking into relocating so they can begin construction on the facility, and I believe the reason that students were moved out of Jesse was because they were going to potentially use that space as a quarantine or isolation floor. But yeah, that's all I know about that right now.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions about coronavirus and the university? I'll wait 10 seconds. Senator Hahn.
Hey, was there any update from Mass? Did they meet last night regarding COVID-19?
Yeah, so Mass met last night. There weren't a lot of updates from the meeting. It was mostly just the campuses regrouping and kind of sharing similar things that they were going through. A lot of our subcommittees right now are kind of put on hold. So this, I was going to mention this in my other, but I'll mention it now. The student regent search has been extended to April 15th, so we don't really have an update on that, and the committee will start meeting to review applications then. Legislative subcommittee has been postponed until the summer, so we're going to construct the survey for students, but just kind of put that on hold for next year's mass to distribute. And then the spring event committee is now the fall event committee. So that's all there is for mass. There's a mass update. Any other questions? Great. Seeing none, we will now move into a discussion about the online public comment. Vice President Hanley, do you mind pulling up the email from earlier? The second one I sent should be better. Yeah. I don't know why the PDF organized itself that way. My apologies for that, but I will now entertain a discussion about the online public comment. Senator Tarallo.
Yeah, I would just like everybody to really take in comments made by these students. This is what I've been talking about all along. I think we're moving in a really bad direction, and I think we're going to hurt more people than we're actually going to help. So I really hope that the resolution that we're going to see soon, either next week or sometime around then, regarding student groups, I really hope it's rethought in Belmo or somewhere else or on the Senate floor, because I don't think we're moving in the right direction at all.
Business Manager Parsons.
Yeah, Vice President Hanley, could you scroll down to Rory Anderson's comment? So I just wanted to thank Rory for putting in the time to put in this comment. I know we had kind of touched on this last week at our meeting. As of right now, there currently is no plans to reimburse or allow student groups to maintain their funds from this year because the way fiscal policy is stated. I noticed that she had mentioned that there would be some things being moved from spring to fall, and I completely understand why you would need funds to move those if they're all being moved there. However, I would caution against if anyone is having plans on making this rollover so that everyone can keep their funds for next year. Just be mindful of student groups if they're planning on doing twice as many activities or doing more activities as a result of this. I think it is okay to maybe have some of those funds roll over. But that said, if there are no additional plans for any other activities in the fall semester, I don't see how it would be beneficial for funds to roll over if there's no additional need. But if there is, then I definitely applaud Rory for putting in this comment and just that she had engaged with us via Zoom. So thank you, Rory.
Senator Flanagan.
Yeah, I just wanted to respond to the concerns on the resolution that were expressed in the online public comment. I feel that the concerns here are valid. However, I think that there's a solution that's not being considered here as far as long as the rugby team doesn't require that every single member pay dues and allow for an associate membership for members that wouldn't pay dues to be able to join the rugby team and maybe not necessarily participate in every single activity that a full member would, then the rugby team would be able to be recognized under an associate membership and would be able to carry on very similar to the way that they have been now. I think that that's probably the best course of action, and I'm not sure if that's how the rugby team currently operates. I don't know if they require $250 from every single member. I would imagine that they have some wiggle room for certain members. Again, I do understand the concerns. However, the solution is there. And I do think that this would be a more equitable process overall for all student groups.
Senator Tarallo.
Yeah, I'm just going to flat out say it. I'm not sure how making student groups jump through hoops for us is a solution at all. Also, there's been no discussion about the concerns with the Greek system.
Okay, seeing no further discussion about the online public comment, We will now move on to, I'm going to combine these next two, Administrator of the Year and Student Group of the Year. So these are two awards that ASUM gives out every year. Normally we would give you all a little bit more warning about that, but we've had a lot going on lately, so we're going to have to do it this week. So to nominate an Administrator or a Student Group of the Year, please email me by next Tuesday at 3 p.m. before the meeting, and we'll present all of them during my report, and we'll allow the senators to vote during the meeting. And by the end of my report or the end of the meeting, Advisor Renner Fahey will count up a secret ballot. And then at the April 29th meeting, we will invite the winners back. So just a reminder to get those to me by next Tuesday at 3 p.m. for Administrator of the Year or Student Group of the Year. And that's pretty much all there is on that. Does anyone have any questions about Administrator or Student Group of the Year? Great. Seeing none, we will now go into committee reports. So I have a few for you this week. The first one is the micro-credential task force that met for the first time this week. It was pretty interesting. We went over a broad overview of how micro-credentialing works and what kind of the vision for that is at UM. So I'll just explain briefly what a micro-credential is intended to be. So it would live in a program, but it would be less academic credit than a certificate, so 11 academic credits or lower. But theoretically, it could be taken for credit or no credit. And then the credential would be something that would be digital and available for students to display on their LinkedIn. And then within the micro-credential, in order to build up to it, it would be sort of a badge system. I don't know how many of you are familiar with, for example, Salesforce Trailhead or some of the badges you can earn on LinkedIn. So, but it would be something similar to that. Various courses taught by departments. The idea is that these can engage both students and non-students. And, oh, sorry, I just saw a chat. And then they can also be online and in person. There are a lot of benefits to this. So for example, there might be a cost differential in taking a micro-credential for credit versus no credit, and a student could get something to put on their resume and display on their LinkedIn, but not necessarily have to do academic credit for it or have it affect their GPA. Or they could take a variety of classes that might fill gen eds that they could get a micro-credential or a badge for. They're pretty versatile. And right now I know they're working on a graphic to sort of better explain what I just said to present to students, and have a pilot running in the next 3 years. Does anyone have any questions about the micro-credential task force? Vice President Hanley.
So what is the process going to look like to get a micro-credential approved at the University of Montana through the Faculty Senate process?
That is a great question that no one knows the answer to be determined. That's part of what this task force is working on. I think the intention is that the first few of these will be made up of courses that already exist or be part of certificates that already exist. So it'll be a little less legwork there, but stay tuned. There will be more discussion on that later. All right. Okay, cool. Seeing no further discussion on the micro, oh, almost missed you, Senator Fulton.
So with that, I don't know who this would go to, but say if a transfer student transfers in where a lot of the courses they've already taken do count for micro-credentials, would they be able to like apply for micro-credentials off of their previous transcript, or how would that work?
It has not been discussed in that detail yet, but that's a really good point to bring up at the next meeting. So I'll let you know what they say. All right. Seeing no further discussion on micro-credentialing, the next thing that I attended, sort of like a committee, was the advising workshop. Vice President Hanley was also listening in there. Basically, Brian French, the Office for Student Success, has put together a really useful box folder full of resources for advisors to use. everything from how to help students work in Zoom, how to manage online advising Zoom appointments with students, online tutoring opportunities, advising resources, self-care opportunities for students. So it's really cool that this is getting started and that the advising community at UM is putting in a lot of effort to make it work for students. They're also being really careful about going over those kind of specific nitty-gritty questions that students have where the answers aren't totally obvious. I specifically mentioned students who are in career paths or majors that have to do with licensing and getting a handle on how licensing agencies are reacting to this kind of situation, specifically the grading and completion of experiential stuff. And that's something that they're working on as well, so that there can be some answers for students. That's pretty much the gist of that. Do I have any questions about the advising workshop? Cool. Seeing none, the last two little things I have in committees, unit standards met last Friday and we finished going over the social work unit standards, but there will be no unit standards this Friday. And then I just got the email for it, but this morning we got a really interesting PowerPoint at Cabinet about some statistics with coronavirus in Montana specifically that I'll be forwarding out to all of you at the end of my report. I'm not going to give it or try to summarize it because I don't want to accidentally misrepresent anything, but the president of the Faculty Senate, Mark Pershouse, prepared it, and I thought it was really, really interesting, and you should all take a look. All right, before I move on for committees, did anyone have any questions about anything in my committee reports? Great. Seeing none, we will now move into my other. I just have one quick thing that I want to mention. So within like a day of the application for the emergency grant fund being live, there were over 50 applicants and almost all of the money was applied for, which is kind of good and bad news. It's good news that students are using it, but it's bad news that the need is so high. I know the UM Foundation is still working to gather funds for this, and the UFA was just approved for a $5,000 grant, which they have matched $5,000, and the president's office has donated some, so there will be more resources available in the near future, but I just wanted to let everyone know the status of that grant fund. And then the other thing, I'll just repeat a reminder that the student regent search has been extended to April 15th, so you still have a week to get your applications in or encourage others to apply. Before I close the president's report, does anyone have any questions or comments for me? I'll wait like 10 seconds. Business Manager Parsons.
Yeah, that's really cool about the grant. Thank you for letting us know about that.
Yeah, no problem. All right, so ends the president's report.
And so begins the Vice President's report. First, we'll start with committee updates. There are no changes right now, so I'll give it a quick scroll just to remind you all, but if you have any changes, I'll give you about 20 to 30 seconds to text me to get on the speakers list. All right, last call for any changes. All right, seeing none, I will now, actually, since there's no changes, there doesn't need to be a motion to approve committee assignments. So this was just an opportunity to give you guys, or give you all a chance to see if you want to change it. So next, I have senator and committee reports. So if you were on ASUM during the fall semester, this is something very similar to it. It's basically the same thing. So for a senator report, I want you to write up a report about your experience being a senator, Senate meetings, office hours, and whatnot, and then also write up every single experience that you had with all the committees that you were on. And then you need to send that to me by Friday, April 24th by 5 p.m. All these documents will be handed to the new VP the second that they get into the office for their start. So it's something that they can have a look at as soon as they want to, and you need to get it to me by that date so that next year's VP has the opportunity to see those documents during their transition. This also goes the same for committee reports. If you are chairing a committee this semester, you need to write up a report about your experience chairing that committee and any changes you need to make to that, or any changes that you think should happen to that committee, as well as any advice for incoming senators that are chairing those committees. This can be your transition document for those committees. And it's something that next year's VP will have store with the office manager, or all store with the office manager, and then the transition and report from year to year can continue on so that everyone can see the progress that's being made from year to year instead of possibly losing the files. I mentioned the committee transition files in my, like a while ago. And if you have specific transition files for a committee chair, I will keep that separate from the report. The report should just be to tell me / next year's VP how your experience went with chairing the committee and what you think could improve. And then the transition file should be delineated to what that chair needs to know about chairing, what they should be prepared for, and any problems that they will come into / what they should fix. And just again, both of those documents are due to me by Friday, April 24th at 5 p.m. Some of you will have quite a few documents to turn into me. So please try to get ahead on that now. I do have one speaker, and that's Senator Flanagan.
Yield.
Any more questions for me about senator and committee reports? Last call. Great, seeing none, that moves me into transition. And this is an update that I really wanted to give you all about 2 weeks ago, but because of coronavirus, it's really hampered my ability to prepare the senator transition files. So I will be trying to make a video, or the series of videos, over the next couple weeks and put it together as an unlisted playlist on YouTube. That'll hopefully be able to transition new senators about the fundamentals of ASUM, such as parliamentary procedure, the relationship that ASUM has with Montana Associated Students, Office of Commissioner of Higher Education, as well as the Board of Regents. And then in addition, some explanations about certain administrative offices on campus and just getting to know the different functions of the university. This provides a basic level of introduction for ASUM senators to the university so that hopefully when the fall retreat comes around, that can be used in a different manner instead of educating the senators about all those different types of things. That time can be used in a more useful manner while the senators, or the new senators, prepare for the next year by watching the videos, reading through the document, and then coming to orientation prepared. I know I enlisted several of you to help come film for those projects, and unfortunately I will just be doing all the films by myself. So I will not be doing that, as it's not really wise to have in-person meetings as of now. If next year's VP wants to give certain ParleyPro examples in the video and upload different videos to the playlist, that's totally fine, but for the remainder of the year, I'm not going to be doing that. As for executive transitions, I've given this update numerous times, but all of those meetings will be on a virtual platform, definitely Zoom for pretty much all of them. There could be a different platform for a couple as they're big group meetings, but all those meetings will be virtual, including the Senate meeting in which the new executives and the new senators will be sworn into office. So if you are elected to next year's Senate, you must be at the April 29th meeting at 6 p.m. And then I will also be sending out the executive transition schedule at the end of this meeting, just so that all the executive candidates have time to block off that entire dead week. Any questions for me about transitions, whether that's for senators, executives, or just anything else related to transition? Great, seeing none, committee reports. President Belcher touched on this, but I, again, postponed the mass governing documents revision, and I'm gonna try to pick that up during finals week and hopefully provide some good bylaws and constitution for next year's Montana Associated Students team to run off of instead of the stuff that every single mass team has been given for the last couple of years. But any questions for me about that? Great. Seeing none, this moves me into my other, and I don't have anything in my other. Does anyone have any questions for me about anything in my report? Any questions at all? Any questions at all? All right, seeing none, so ends the Vice President's report.
So it begins the business manager's report. So as always, you can see the funds and their account numbers, the amounts in each fund currently. There were no financial requests for this week. Kind of expected with a lot of folks not doing much. I have emailed a few student groups about some of their STIP purchases. No one's taken me up on that offer yet, but I know a few are in the works, so hopefully we can fund some groups for the remainder of the year. But my first agenda item that I do have is a suspension of RCSF, so that's the Research Creative Scholarship Fund. So we decided to make this decision just because a lot of these RCSF opportunities include a travel component in which people are presenting their research, or they're traveling to a conference to present their research. And with COVID stuff going on right now, we don't really feel comfortable divvying out funds in the format of a scholarship for these travel opportunities. And that's just also something we talked about with the ELCS office, Andrea and Andrea Rhodes over there. They had some hesitations about supplying funds for students who might be potentially going on opportunities. So we just thought this was a common sense measure to do, just given the precedence of this situation. So if anyone had any comments or questions about this, you can go ahead, hop on the speakers list. I'll give you a few seconds. All right. I have Senator Flanagan.
Cool. With the suspension, I was wondering if there's any time frame on that, especially for students that may have opportunities coming up this summer.
Yeah, of course. So the suspension of this would be, technically it is for the upcoming academic year is when all opportunities from RCSF would be going in. The summer's always been kind of a bit of a hazy period. So kind of what we decided is we want to move RCSF to a format in which students can apply in the semester in which they're seeking their opportunities. Right now it says you have to do it a semester ahead. But what we would be doing, I guess, for next year's folks, since it would be in my transition file for whoever the next business manager is, what it would be allowing students to reimburse opportunities if they did have them over summer. It wouldn't be on the front end, which is unfortunate because I know that can be a big barrier. But just because we don't really have good information right now of when this whole thing's going to end, we don't feel comfortable giving out any funds. But my best guidance for someone taking on this position next year would be just to allow reimbursements, if at all possible, if anyone was able to have somewhat of an academic opportunity over the summer.
Thank you.
All right. Any more questions, comments, folks? All right. Seeing none, so I'll go ahead and move up into my committee reports. So we did, Publications Board met last week, but we did finally vote to confirm 2 individuals. So Erin Sargent has been confirmed as editor-in-chief for the Kaiman. So she'll be in that position for the upcoming year. She is very qualified for that position. So I think if y'all could help me congratulate her position, that'd be super helpful. And then also we did meet and we decided who the Kaiman business manager would be for the upcoming year, and that is Cass Williams. She is also very qualified and she has great credentials. Both of them, we had the interview process last week, they both seemed very capable of the positions they're in, and whoever spokes next year will be in these positions. They're really a pleasure to work with, so hopefully you'll have a good relationship with them. Is there any questions about Publications Board, interview process, anything like that? You can go ahead and get on. All right, seeing none, go ahead and move in my next committee report. So Radio Board met on Monday. As I previously stated, they moved all of their activities to remote DJing, and all of their publications that they've been putting out on the airwaves, they've been able to do from home, thankfully. I know they've been doing some good work with the PD of putting on Zoom information sessions of how to do like DJ workshops and how the DJs can submit their playlists and some of their podcasts. So that's been really cool to see that the station's been able to weather this storm pretty well. But when I did talk with Noel, who is the general manager at KBJ, they are looking for more content always. So if any of you wanted to maybe do a show or maybe become a DJ through the station, they are still hiring. So if any of you, got laid up from a job or currently laid off or anything, we could try and get you in contact with her to put on some content on the airwaves. You could get your own music show or podcast or, Alex Jones types things. Hopefully not the latter, but it is a possibility. So if anyone's interested in those opportunities, you can go ahead and email me. They're doing a lot of great work over there. But if there's any comments about Radio Board, I'll give you a few seconds to get on. All right, it's not looking like there's any. Okay, so those are the only committees that I had meet over the week. BNF met, we had a resolution. That said, I did have something up for birthdays. So I've really been tricking my duties this past semester, not doing birthdays. So what I kind of brainstormed would be an idea. So I do have everyone's birthdays that you would submit it to me physically at the office. I'm planning on going to get those, but what I wanted to do was try to send birthday treats via the mail or just dropping it off on the front porches of people's places. I'm not sure about the second one, if that would violate some social distancing or touching of surfaces. But I'm gonna try my best to mail those out. So I might be asking you for a mailing address later. Don't wanna creep you out or anything. If you're not comfortable with that, that's totally fine. But I did wanna try to at least honor this obligation because this has been something that business managers have done for a long time. And I just wanna, get you a treat in these trying times. All right, yeah, I could do Venmo too if y'all just are cynical and just want cash, something less personal than a birthday treat. We could probably figure that out too. But yeah, so I'll email all of you folks after this. I'm just do a big Senate email asking about that. And we'll try and get something ironed out. Just let me know your birthday treat and I'll try and get it to you in the best manner possible. All right, sweet. So that's what I had for birthdays. I don't really believe I had anything else in my other. I'm glad that the emergency loan fund is up and running and that students are able to access that. President Belcher did a lot of good work there, same with everything in student affairs. I think that's going to be really helpful for everyone. So I just wanted to congratulate them, pitch my 2 cents, and hopefully some student body can utilize those funds. And with that, I'll end the business manager report.
So begins committee reports. And give me a second to get situated. Please text me if you want to get a committee report. I am giving one because I forgot to give this during my report. But there's a communication for the provost today around 4 p.m. for those of you that didn't see it that said all of the summer session will be moving to online/remote learning. Grace Gardner will be here next week to answer any questions about that and summer session in general. So please keep a lookout for that. But first on my committee reports speaking list, I got Senator Ream.
Yeah. Student Computer Fee Committee met on Friday. We passed a few different requests, and then we also are following a new chair-elect model so it will be a person that will kind of transition into it at the same time. Also, Writing Committee met on Monday, and has a new chair-elect, and then we also went over some different things such as our annual report.
Cool. Senator Corkish.
All right. Hi, everyone. I just wanted to give an update on elections as per usual. So first and foremost, you should see, it's kind of at the start of the chat. It was a couple minutes before 6. I sent the link for our mock elections. So that is going to be up until midnight tonight. And I talked with Vice President Hanley. And if we go until 8 p.m., we should have a break. If not, if y'all could just go fill that out after the meeting ends, just so that we can see how things function. It's definitely interesting having different referendums.
Bring up my deadline.
And yeah, I can send the link again to everyone in the Facebook message.
Tomorrow.
Nope, never mind.
No, go ahead.
I'm gonna close the chat. It's distracting me. So the thing with that is I want y'all to send me any feedback if you come up with something that's not working really well. For each of the referendum, we have the link to I mean, obviously they're like fake fees and stuff for the mock, but we still have the link to like the real language up. Just check if everyone could just like click on it, make sure that sends you to the right page. One comment on that is we were originally planning on having the full language available on the app as a drop-down menu. After talking with the app creators and just like messing around with it a little bit, to get the full language of each resolution onto the voting app would require Shane and I and the committee to go in and basically retype every single resolution with HTML coding, which I don't have experience with. And I guess Shane like did it for one the other day, and it took him like an hour to finish typing it. So that's why we decided to add the link instead of just like the actual language. And then moving forward, just because I've had a few questions from candidates, just to review class rep expectations. You are again allowed to do them, ask people to vote for yourself, but again, keep it under 1 to 2 minutes. And then expense reports are due on Monday, so make sure you all know that. And then finally, the last thing I had, so I realized today when we hosted the debate that there were like a few candidates that weren't on my candidate info list. And I think that was because the forms were turned in physically, and when I had Gwen send me all the physical copies, somehow a few were missed. So if you like weren't on or didn't receive an email about the debate and you like, or you weren't on the list of like senators running, will you please just like reach out to me so that I know that I should be looking for your forms, because it's been just like kind of weird this year not being able to go to the office. And yeah, that's everything, I think.
Senator Gluckert.
Hi guys, I'm also going to touch on elections a little bit. First of all, I wrote all of the titles, or I made titles for all of the referendas. So these are actually in the box folder under actual ballot language, and I wrote like summaries about each little referenda. And so I will send the link in our Facebook chat, and maybe if you guys could go through and give me some feedback on the titles. I tried to incorporate all of the information from each like referenda into the title, but some of them it's kind of hard. Also, our fourth one, I didn't have a name for. So again, I'll send that in the chat. So if you have any ideas for referenda number 4 titles, and you could send that to Shane, Morgan, me, that'd be great. And then also, I just wanted to touch on that we really need to push voting this year, especially with how COVID is turning out. We have a huge constitutional revision, and constitutional ad hoc worked so hard on all of these. And if we do not get this 12% turnout, all of this work will be done for nothing. So everyone needs to be pushing this voting really, really hard, because I know that I will be very disappointed if we do not get this 12% turnout. And I know that a lot of you guys will be too. So I know you're not going in the classrooms anymore, but please just hit it hard on your Zoom meetings. Tell your friends, share it on Facebook, everything. Annoy people with this, because it's so important, especially with all these referendas. Again, just we need 12%. Like we have a low voter turnout, and it's going to be especially hard this year. So and then also, we do not have enough senators running to fill all the spots. But as I was sitting at the debate today, Noah brought up a really good point that he ran a write-in campaign, or excuse me, Senator Janelle. But so if you guys know people, because today was the last day to register as a senator, if you guys know people, tell them to run a write-in campaign. Like, people win write-in campaigns, like you write in their name, like, so that is super important too. So I just wanted to touch on that.
Senator Anderson.
Okay, so I have two. Graduate Council met today. There was a lot of robust discussion about what to put in the resolution for Faculty Senate for the TA and RA pay. There was also some discussion about the Bertha Morton scholarships and trying to figure out when we can release the final candidates' names. And then in addition to that, I am meeting with Kelly Webster on Friday, virtually via Zoom. So I'm super excited to chat with her.
Great. Senator Hahn.
Yeah, just a quick update about the census. Most of the information was in my committee report. A week from today, on Tuesday, April 14th, from 12 to 1 p.m., we are doing a census Q&A for students. I would encourage any senator that's available to chime into that. We are going to have folks from the census, Forward Montana, Housing, as well as a representative from the redistricting committee. So even if you're just curious about the way that the census is done, or if you have any curiosity about redistricting, it'll be a great opportunity to chime in. But I also think that more students that are informed about this, we can sort of delineate some of the misinformation as to where students are supposed to be counted. I do want to make it really clear that where students were supposed to be living on April 1st is where they should be counted. We sort of had a little bit of confusion in that regard, but if you talk to anybody that hasn't done their census yet or doesn't know where they should be counted if they went back home, wherever they were supposed to be living on April 1st. So awesome. Thank you.
Senator Rink.
Yeah, I was gonna touch on what I wrote for marketing and outreach. If everyone could turn their attention to like the second paragraph of what I wrote, kind of along those same lines. I realize that marketing outreach is not a leg of the elections committee, but we've been fairly limited just being at home to social media. So I've been working a lot, fairly tirelessly, and so have a lot of the committee members on marketing and outreach just to promote elections and garner turnout, because it is really important related to a lot of the referenda items this year. I did some really rough math to make a point, and I assigned each committee member on M&O to just do a class wrap. It's like really easy to do. It takes a minute or two, and every single person on Senate right now is knowledgeable enough to do a class wrap. And my rough math was like, if 15 of the currently serving senators did a class wrap in an average class of 25 students, 375 students would vote because they have a personal, relatable classmate who told them to vote, let's say, and then that would amount to about 3.4% more in turnout. So if you did 2 class wraps, you could imagine that could amount to double that. So that's kind of what I was just trying to help out in terms of marketing and outreach to students, letting them know what is coming up and what is important and what ASUM does. So that's kind of just what I wanted to emphasize in terms of M&O.
Senator Torello.
Legal met this. Legal had an emergency meeting this week to discuss the resolution that you're going to see tonight. Also, the bylaws for legal board require us to have at least one legal forum every year. That was going to be the wet lab. Obviously, because of coronavirus, that's no longer a possibility. So Director Villamez is trying to find some kind of webinar to be a substitute for that. And he's hoping to find something that talks about the stimulus package that was passed by the Congress and the president a few weeks ago, especially concerning, who gets stimulus checks and stuff like that. So as far as I know, he's in the process of doing that now.
Senator Fulton.
Okay, so I have 2. The first one is from Cam. We were all sent a Qualtrics survey after our reference checks to decide who we feel like should be our top 3 candidates. We are having a meeting this Friday to discuss that. We cannot invite anyone on campus for on-campus interviews, which kind of sucks because that's honestly like where we could have met each specific candidate and had questions that you all would have wanted answered. But as of right now, it's a really close race with the candidates that we have left, and it's going to be hard to decide a top 3. Second, Gen Ed met today. We talked about the new Gen Ed chair. We talked about, I'm spacing on the title of the class. Well, there was a class that we provisionally recognized because the professor is on sabbatical and they are sick. So it's just kind of like we're going to provisionally recognize it for this and kick it down to the fall. So that way the students can still get the gen ed credit for it. ANSI 141, that's what it was. And yeah, I believe, and those were like the main things. We also talked about how gen ed was working with COVID, especially for the fall, and how like new student orientation would and all that would work with gen ed. And yeah, that's what gen ed talked about.
Senator Flanagan.
Yeah, I had a question for the elections committee. So I had the chance to mess around with the link that you dropped in the chat. And I noticed that when you put the name for somebody that's already up on the ballot, it completely kicks you out and makes you restart your ballot. I just want to make sure that that was the intention.
Can you repeat that? I don't really understand what you're saying.
Yeah, so I noticed that on the online ballot that you shared in the chat, when you put the name of somebody that's already on the ballot, so I believe one of them was, I don't remember what they were.
Like when you write them in?
Yeah, if you write in John Smith, even though John Smith's already on the ballot, it completely kicks you out and makes you restart your ballot. And I want to make sure that that was the intention.
Thank you. I'll write that down.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I think that okay, I'm still confused. So if you wrote in, so like John Smith is on the ballot, and if you tried writing in like another John Smith and it kicked you out?
It kicks you off and makes you restart the ballot completely.
Did you also have John Smith like checked? So you tried to vote for him like twice?
I think you can only vote once.
Okay.
And like,
we'll tell Shane and talk to the app person. But yeah, thank you. Those are kind of some of the like stuff that we're looking for.
cool. And then can I have a follow-up?
Yeah.
Second question for the elections committee. I was just wondering if we knew what 12% looks like right now, like exactly how many people 12% would be.
I don't know exactly.
We have 10,987 students right now, so whatever 12% that is.
Perfect. Thank you.
It's also 12.5%, but you know, the 0.5% is
12.5%.
very minimal.
So we need to hit it even harder.
President Belcher.
I also had a comment about elections. I meant to put this in my other, but I forgot. So last week I asked you all to do little selfie videos about the ASUM activity fee restructure and increase. So far I've gotten videos from 3 people. This will take you less than a minute. All you have to do is briefly explain why ASUM is important to you and why it's important that it continues to get funded to be fully operational. It doesn't have to be anything spectacular. In fact, the less spectacular it is and the more authentic it looks, the better. Super easy. Make sure you hold your camera like sideways and not long ways when you do it so that I can edit them all together well. Yeah, super simple thing to do. And I'm excited to get started making that video.
Great. Any more committee reports? Any more committee reports? Last call. All right, seeing none, that now leads us into unfinished business and the first resolution, which is resolution temporarily waiving ASUM legal services advising fees for clients with landlord/tenant or consumer debt disputes. Senator Terrell, your authorship.
I'm just going to start off by saying I apologize for the extremely long title of this resolution, but I like being thorough. So as I stated last week, Director Villamez has seen a spike in these particular disputes and is anticipating the larger spike due to these particular disputes. So we want to waive the advising fees for anybody who comes in now until the end of the semester. This is kind of our response to coronavirus. The way I have it in the resolution now, it ends on the very last day campus is open, which is May 9th. Or I'm sorry, no, I have it May 8th, which is the last day of finals. So if in the event that this virus, forces us to be on lockdown into the fall, I'm sure someone else could just write another resolution, or I could write a resolution if I'm reelected, just extending the date. but I thought this was an appropriate cutoff point for now. That being said, I do have one amendment right off the bat.
Would you like a follow-up, Senator Terrell?
Yes, can I have a follow-up?
Okay. Yes.
Can you go up to the sponsor line?
Mhm.
Okay, move to add semicolon, Rashana Harris, student at large. And then a semicolon.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Senator Jornell.
Unanimous.
Unanimous consent has been called. Is there any discussion or objection? Discussion or objection? Discussion or objection? Discussion or objection? Great. Seeing none, the amendment is adopted. Now I'm going to go on my main speakers list. And first I have Senator Nelson.
Hi, thank you for taking the time to write this. I was just wondering why it was decided the language would be fired or furloughed instead of something like laid off, furloughed, or something else.
I just thought that was the language I chose to go with. I thought it was, I guess, more appropriate. A furlough and laid off implies that they have been permanently fired, at least in most people's minds. That's what it implies. Furloughs, would be just a temporary leave due to this virus. If you think there's better language, I'm open to hearing it, but.
Senator Flanagan.
Yelled, I don't believe I got on.
Okay. Senator Jornell.
Hi. Given the recent information that the summer sessions carrying throughout the summer are going to be all remote, it seems like COVID-19 the implications of it are going to be extending for quite a while. Do you have any thoughts about extending it through the summer, or do legal services even extend through the summer?
That was not discussed. I asked several times, what Director Villamez thought was a good cutoff date, and he thought there should be a shorter term thing. So that's why we opted for just the end of the spring semester. But yeah.
Senator Reed.
Move to on line 15, change lead, L-E-A-D, to L-E-D.
Second.
Okay.
Unanimous.
There's been a motion by Senator Ream to change lead to lead on line 15. It's been moved by Senator Ream and seconded by Senator Corkish, and unanimous consent has been called. Is there any discussion or objection? Discussion or objection? Discussion or objection? All right, seeing none, that has been adopted. Next on my speakers list, I have Senator Anderson.
Yeah, so I'm in the same boat. I don't believe that putting a deadline on this is appropriate. I think that it should be extended until campus fully reopens to their students, because that's when a large number of student employees and a large people will start to go back to work. So may I have a follow-up?
Yeah. Is this going to be a big amendment?
No.
Okay.
Do you want me to send it to you in the chat?
No, I was going to have you take over my screen, but go ahead.
Okay. So strike the end of spring 2020 semester. Yeah. And cool. And then replace it with until campus reopens fully to students, semicolon.
Sorry, can you say that again?
Campus reopens or fully reopens. Sorry, I'm bad at words today. To students, semicolon.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion by Senator Anderson to strike the end date of the fee waiver and replace it with campus fully reopens to students. Been moved by her, seconded by Senator Glucker. And Senator Anderson, I'll give your authorship.
Yeah, so like I just stated, I think given that the provost has changed his decision from doing the first summer session virtually to the entire summer session being virtual, we need to respect that our students probably aren't going to be able to work. I also know that there's talk of extending the stay-at-home orders and keeping businesses closed. So I think that this is the fairest way. And because ASUM doesn't really operate during the summer, like there wouldn't be a way for a resolution to get passed to see this until the fall, which is frankly too late. So I think this is a nice compromise. And Director Villamez does have the option to kind of like, if like things change, he does have the option as the director to re-implement the fees. Like he kind of controls that. So there's still wiggle room for him to be able to take the waiver away if the situation changed.
Great. So I'm just going to read my amendment speakers list to ensure I have it right, because I just got about 13 text messages and I'm not sure if I have it right. So I have Ream, Terrello, Flanagan. If you text me to get on the amendment speakers list, text me again if I didn't just read your name. Senator Ream.
Move. So do we have to do a vote for that first?
Yeah, if you want to amend the amendment, you can. But if you want to do another amendment, I can put you on the main speakers list.
Main speakers list.
Okay, Senator Terrello.
Yeah, I'd be more comfortable with a more concrete end date. I would be willing to compromise and put it, say, at the end of the last summer session, which, if anyone has that date or knows when that date is, that would be more preferable than this kind of open-ended cutoff.
Senator Flanagan.
Question for the execs. Is it possible that there could be a situation where ASUM Legal could be open without campus itself fully reopening? Just curious about that.
Really sure ASUM Legal is open right now to virtual appointments.
Yeah.
When I say open, I mean open to students, like in-person appointments, physical.
Can I take that one, Ethan?
Yeah.
So that is to be determined based on the state of coronavirus in Montana and Missoula this summer. It is anticipated that school will be done remotely for the entirety of the summer, but that does not necessarily mean that all work will be done remotely. I have no idea what's going to happen, but it's very possible that could return to a state where it was briefly, where classes were being done remotely, but in-person work was allowed. The other thing too, with having classes go remote, I don't want you all to take that as an indication that officials at think that we're going to be locked in our houses through August because of social distancing. This is mostly to be cautious about our plans for the summer, and in case that's something that has to happen, can be ready and it can have all of its course listings ready. Moving summer online is something that has to be started sooner rather than later. So getting started on it now ensures that in the worst case scenario, students have the best access to education, but it is not necessarily meant to be taken as an indication of how coronavirus will be in Montana. I just wanted to clear that up for everyone.
May I have a follow-up?
Yeah.
So I am in favor of this amendment. However, I think I would be more in favor of it if it were to read something to the effect of until the shelter-in-place guidelines end, or something along the lines of that.
Senator Corkish.
First and foremost, I hate Zoom. Second, so I move to amend the amendment to read until the shelter in place. What is it like a?
So I'm going to rule that dilatory. I think in my interpretation, that's against the intent of the amendment.
Okay.
Senator Anderson.
Yeah, so I just kind of want to clarify why I gave until campus fully opens to students. It's not because I'm taking the Zoom classes as an indication, but just because the shelter in place order is lifted doesn't mean that all businesses will be able to reopen. It also doesn't mean that campus will be able to reopen, or they'll choose to reopen what they consider like non-essential employees. So this is to ensure that those students that are still looped into that group, where they may not be able to return to work right away, or they may be trying to catch up on bills, still has the flexibility to get help with things that they need and not have to worry about like our advice appointment fee. That's why I didn't want to put a date on it, because I don't think it's quite frankly fair. And I think that given all of the information that we have and the lack of information we have about COVID, leaving things open-ended is the most responsible thing we can do, while understanding that like changes can be made over the summer by the executives and or by Director Villamez if the situation changes. So I just thought that like that's why I want to do it until campus fully reopens to students.
Senator Fulton.
Yeah, I'm for this amendment, especially because today in Gen Ed, Nathan Lindsay told VP Hanley and Senator Nelson and I that potentially fall could be going online as well. So I am very much in support of this, because I would much rather have students have this rather than it be, well, we did it last spring, but we're not going to continue it until a potential resolution could be formed. So I'd much rather have this language instead of when the shelter in place happens, or what the current language states.
Senator Terrell.
Would you consider it dilatory if I amended the amendment so that it ends at, so that the cutoff is the end of summer session?
Yep, I would consider that dilatory.
Okay, then I yield.
Senator Rink.
Question for Senator Tarala, or possibly the executives or anyone with ASUM. Like, how much slower does like the use of ASM legal go down in the summer? Like, how much general traffic do you expect this will decrease over the summer?
President Belcher.
I'd like a follow-up after too.
Yeah.
So it really depends. In the past, there have been times where cases that have started in the spring have kept ASUM legal pretty busy throughout the summer. I would say that fewer students come in for new cases during the summertime. Certainly, they've been seeing fewer students since this whole situation has started, but I wouldn't say that it's consistent enough to say that always in the summer they're super slow or always they're not.
Rank your follow-up.
Can I have my follow-up?
Yep, good.
I think since that traffic slows down a little bit in the summer, I think I would be in support of something along the lines of at the beginning of fall semester or when summer term ends. I think that makes the most sense, since those are at least summer term is already canceled and moved on. I think it should at least extend through that. I think that's like a fair middle ground. But I do agree with having like a hard deadline, not leaving it open, because that leaves a gray area.
President Belcher.
Where am I on the speakers list?
You're speaking right now. That's it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're not on the main speakers list, but I can put you there.
No, I mean like how many people are going after me?
Oh, we got 2 going after you.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to say I appreciate the discussion on this. I hope we either pass this amendment or we don't. I think this is a great resolution overall, and I appreciate the sentiments. However, the next president and director have the power to decide when the fees extend and when they don't, and it doesn't really matter. I don't think we need to have this clause at all, so let's move on.
Senator Corkish.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I appreciate Senator Anderson's comments on the shelter in place, but I just want to say, along with like a few other senators, I do think we should try to find like a hard deadline, just because of the functionality of next year's ASUM Senate. I mean, we really can't tell them to do or not do something, like President Belcher just referenced. So I just wanted to say, unless this due date changes and becomes like a hard due date, I think I'm going to vote no. So.
Senator Torello.
Am I the last one on the speakers list?
Nope.
How many are left after me?
Just one more.
Oh, yield.
Gluckert.
Yeah, I guess I just want to say that I'm for this, especially just because I agree about the hard deadline, but I agree about the hard deadline on things that have a deadline. And COVID seems to not have a deadline as much as we would really like COVID to have a deadline. So I think that this is a really good alternative. And yeah, so I'm going to be voting yes on this, and I hope you guys do too.
Senator Anderson.
Yeah. Okay, I'm back, guys. So I messaged Director Villamez just to make sure that he would be okay with this language before I did it. Perks of being an intern, I guess. But he is totally on board with this. In fact, he just said it was something that he was considering waiving for all cases over the summer anyway. And he's not afraid of not having a hard deadline because he knows that he can change it if the information changes. So I just want to put that out there, that I did reach out to Director Villamez, and he's totally fine and on board with this.
Any more discussion? Torello.
Yeah, I would like to take the time to thank Senator Anderson for doing that. In light of that, then I'm totally okay with this.
Any more discussion? Last call. All right, seeing none. For whatever reason, these meetings I can't get polls to function in. So we're gonna have to do a roll call vote. I'm trying to work on the issue, but I don't know what happened with this series of meetings, so it's gonna be a little longer meeting. Secretary Shell, will you please take a roll call vote on this amendment?
1 second. Senator Rink.
Yes.
Senator Torello.
Yes.
Senator Anderson.
Yes.
Senator Borgasani.
That's a yes, I'm sorry.
All good. Senator Bowles.
Yes.
Senator Corkish.
Pass.
Senator Durnell.
Yes.
Senator Flanagan.
Yes.
Senator Fulton.
Yes.
Senator Gluckert.
Yes.
Senator Gregory.
Yes.
Senator Hahn.
Yep.
Senator Jimmy.
Yes.
Senator Johnston.
No.
Senator Kiefer.
Yes.
Senator Medina.
Yep.
Senator Nelson.
Yes.
Senator Ream.
Yes.
Business Manager Parsons.
Yep.
And President Belcher.
Yes.
Motion passes 19 to 1 to 0.
You forgot Morgan Thor.
Oh,
Senator
Yeah, you passed her. But
sorry, Senator Corkish.
No.
Okay.
19 to 2 to 0.
18 to 2 to 0.
18 to 2 to 0. All right, so the amendment is adopted on 18 to 2 to 0 vote. So next on my speakers list, I have Senator Corkish.
Yield.
Or Business Manager Parsons.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks for this resolution. I really like the content, and I'm glad that we're not capitalizing during a crisis.
Senator Durnell.
In line 16, I moved to change and or to and or combine with a slash. So that is correct.
Second.
Second.
Sorry, can you
Unanimous.
repeat that?
In line 16, to take and or and combine it with a slash to make it the term. Further earlier, yeah.
Oh, gotcha. There's been a motion by Senator Durnell to change and or in line 16 to and slash or. It's been moved by Senator Durnell.
Second.
Unanimous.
Seconded by Senator Flanagan. Unanimous consent has been called. Is there any discussion or objection? Discussion or objection, discussion or objection? Seeing none, that amendment has been adopted.
Can I have a follow-up?
Yeah.
In line 16, move to replace citizens with students.
There's been a motion by Senator Durnell to replace the word citizens with students in line 16. Is there a second? Seconded by Senator Corkish.
Unanimous.
And unanimous consent has been called. Is there any discussion or objection? Discussion or objection, discussion or objection? Great, seeing none, that amendment is adopted. Next on my speakers list, I have Senator Ream.
Move to add a comma after therefore on line 41.
There's been a motion by Senator Ream to add a comma after therefore on line 41. Is there a second?
Second.
Unanimous.
Seconded by Senator Glucker, and unanimous consent has been called. Is there any discussion or objection? Discussion or objection? Discussion or objection? Great. Seeing none, that amendment is adopted. Next on my speakers list, I have Senator Bowles.
My question got answered, but I just wanted to say I think it's good that we're going to be helping students provide legal services because it's already difficult enough in the real world.
Okay, Senator Glucker.
You scroll up to the top. I move to add Mary in front of Melissa because that's my true identity.
All right, there's been a motion by Senator
Line
Glucker
8, sorry.
to change
Second.
Melissa Glucker to Mary Melissa Glucker on line 8. It's been moved by Senator Glucker, seconded by Senator Torello.
Unanimous.
Unanimous consent has been called. Is there any discussion or objection? Discussion or objection? Discussion or objection? Great. Seeing none, that amendment is adopted. Next on my speakers list, I have Senator Durnell.
In line 18, I move to remove and or impossible and replace citizens with students.
So you want this to be removed?
And or impossible, those 3 words, and then replace citizens with students.
Got it. All right. There's been a motion by Senator Janelle to change the 3rd whereas clause in the resolution to strike and or impossible and strike citizens and replace with students.
Second.
Is there a second? Seconded by Senator Glucker.
Unanimous.
Unanimous consent has been called. Is there any discussion or objection? Discussion or objection? Discussion or objection? All right, seeing none, that amendment is adopted. Senator Durnell, would you like a follow-up?
Yes, I would. In line 24, I believe, move to remove especially those in need and replace the comma with the semicolon.
Okay. There has been a motion by Senator Durnell to strike especially those in need in lines 24 through 25. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Seconded by Senator Nelson. All righty, Senator Durnell, your authorship.
Yeah, so the statement in line 24 is already succinct without putting especially those in need, because really the duties of ASUM senators is to advocate for all students at the University of Montana. So I just didn't find it necessary to put especially those in need, especially now since with COVID-19, everybody is really in need in some aspect. So I think taking out that language makes it a much stronger statement and makes it much more reliable and honest.
Is there any discussion on this amendment? Senator Torello.
Yeah, I prefer we keep it in. I disagree. I think it just makes it a little bit stronger, our reasoning behind this. But I'm also not going to die on this.
Any more discussion on this amendment? Any more discussion? Last call. All right, I changed my mind on how we're going to do voting for amendments. We're just going to do it by voice vote, and if you all think it's close, you can call division. So everyone unmute yourself. This is going to be terrible, but if I hear a lot of no's, I'm just going to ask the secretary to take a roll call vote. So all those in favor of striking this language in lines 24 through 25 of the resolution, please signify by saying yes.
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 All those opposed, same sign.
No.
No.
All right, so I'm going to say that amendment passed. If anyone wants to call division, you can. Abstentions. Cool. All right, so that amendment passes by a voice vote. Next on my speakers list, I have Senator Torello.
Yield.
Senator Ream.
On line 33 and also on line 36, capitalize that after let it be resolved.
There has been a motion by Senator Ream to capitalize the T or the first T in that in lines 33 and 36 of the resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Senator Corkish.
Unanimous.
Unanimous consent has been called. Is there any discussion or objection? Discussion or objection? Discussion or objection? Seeing none, that amendment has been adopted. Would anyone else like to get on my speakers list at this time? Any more discussion? Last call. All right, seeing none, we will now enter into a roll call vote into Senate Bill 69, resolution temporarily waiving ASUM legal services advising fees for clients with landlord/tenant or consumer debt disputes. Secretary Shelver, will you please take the roll call vote?
Senator Corkish,
Yes.
Senator Donnell,
Yes.
Senator Flanagan,
Yes.
Senator Fulton,
Yep.
Senator Gluckert,
Yes.
Senator Gregory,
Yes.
Senator Hahn,
Yep.
Senator Jimmy,
Yes.
Senator Johnston,
Yeah.
Senator Kiefer,
Yep.
Senator Medina,
Yup.
Senator Nelson,
Yes.
Senator Ream,
Yes.
Senator Rink,
Rink? All right, passing.
Senator Torello,
Yes.
Senator Anderson,
Yes.
Senator Borgasani,
Yes.
Senator Bowles,
Yes.
Senator Rink.
Twice.
Yep.
Yes.
You counted me twice, but
Oh, okay. I didn't get it the last time. Business Manager Parsons,
Yep.
President Belcher.
Yes.
The yeses have it 20-0.
All right, resolution passes unanimously. We'll now move on to Senate Bill 70, resolution urging the University of Montana to create the position of Director of Student Employment. President Belcher, your authorship.
Hi, everyone. I will be brief. I know I've discussed this topic a lot at our Senate meetings, but over the course of dealing with COVID-19 issues, I've noticed that student employees have a lot of needs on our campus that are not being met. Several of us found it very difficult to find answers about student employees. It took a little while for resources to be made available for them, and I'm still pretty unclear about how a lot of state and federal policies apply to student employees. As ASUM president, I have been more than happy to advocate on behalf of this population of students. However, I also recognize that myself, any future president, and ASUM as a whole is limited in its capacity to do so. Student employment is a really complicated topic that requires a lot of research and a lot of knowledge. Additionally, a lot of the issues that student employees have to deal with are very sensitive and private. And many students do feel uncomfortable telling a fellow student or a public organization such as ASUM their personal information about employment. In the interest of transparency, I will share that before this, I did have student employees approach me about problems that they were having in their workplace, not nearly as much as now, but usually how I would have to handle those situations is just by talking individually to the student about the situation and giving them advice about what other campus offices to go to, but there really aren't a whole lot of resources on campus for this. And then I also think it's pretty inappropriate to expect ASUM to be inserting itself in situations that have to do with conflict or concerns between a student employee and their supervisor. So yeah, I also, if you look into their core clauses, I've outlined what this position would do. I think that's the most important part of the resolution, and I think it would be a key service for students that they desperately need.
All right, moving into my main speakers list, I have Senator Flanagan.
I'm in favor of this. Let's get it passed after any needed amendments.
Senator Durnell.
I wanted to point out that I think this is a great example of how ASUM can acknowledge areas that we can't really control or where it's inappropriate for us to control, and hand that responsibility over to someone else through our own advocacy. So I want to applaud the author for writing this. This was one of those resolutions where it takes 5 minutes to go through relations and affairs, just because it's very easily understandable and really well put together. And I love the content of this, and especially that first therefore clause. I'm nerding out a little bit. But yeah, please vote yes on this. I think it's really important. I think that's a given.
Any more discussion? Last call. All right, seeing none, we will now enter into a roll call vote on Senate Bill 70, resolution urging the University of Montana to create the position of Director of Student Employment. Secretary Shovel, will you please take the roll call vote?
Senator Fulton,
Yes.
Please unmute yourselves.
Senator Gluckert,
Absolutely yes.
Senator Gregory,
Yes.
Senator Hahn,
Absolutely, yes.
Senator Jimmy,
Yes.
Senator Johnston,
Yes.
Senator Kiefer,
Yep.
Senator Medina,
Absolutely, yes.
Senator Nelson,
Yes.
Senator Ream,
Yes.
Senator Rink,
Yep.
Senator Tarallo,
Yes.
Senator Anderson,
Yes.
Senator Borgasani,
Yes.
Senator Bowles,
Yes.
Senator Corkish,
Yep.
Senator Durnell,
Yep.
Senator Flanagan,
Yes.
Business Manager Parsons,
Yep.
President Belcher.
Yes.
The yeses have it 20 to 0 to 0.
All right, Senate Bill 70 passes unanimously. That now moves us into Senate Bill 71, resolution creating a charge for the Relations and Affairs Committee and the ASUM bylaws. Senator Durnell, your authorship.
Hello, everybody. Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to write another resolution for the Relations and Affairs Committee. I'm really excited to propose some new charges for the committee. And in reality, those charges that are being proposed in writing tonight are not new. It's been pretty common practice for the committee. So nothing I'm proposing is anything that's out of the ordinary for what the committee already does. But I do see that as fitting to include that in the bylaws, given that there was some confusion with discussion and concerns in the prior weeks with senators and members of the committee. The first thing you'll notice is there's a lot of sponsors, and I opened up sponsorship by any members on the committee who thought who wanted to, because I showed them this resolution first so that they could be collaborative on it, and a lot of them sent me private emails following it. So all those sponsors play a large part in what you see here. So 2 weeks ago, I removed the do not pass recommendations from the Relations and Affairs Committee, and that was to help eliminate any sort of bias that could possibly come about. I referenced a section of the House rules that actually does talk about what happens if the intent of a resolution is amended or altered in a significant way. So there are things in place that counteract that happening, which is why it's not explicitly part of what I changed in the resolution. Or what I added as a charge. So there was only one thing that I added in the charge, which was broken into three separate points that the committee currently practice. The first one is fine-tuning line level edits, including but not limited to spelling, formatting, punctuation, and sentence structure. So those are kind of like the minor changes you might consider. And then removing clauses that violate the ASUM governing documents, and amending whereas clauses and therefore clauses to strengthen or clarify the intent of a resolution. I also added a short statement that any further charges of the committee are up to the discretion of the chair, because I do think that this committee deserves discretion, and the chairship is, every year is different, and for the chair to be able to put in a few of their own recommendations, I feel is really important. If you have any questions, I'll take them.
Senator Tarallo.
Can we go into movements? I don't have any
Yes, you can
questions.
go to motions.
Okay, first of all, I would just like to say thank you to Senator Durnell. This has always been a problem for an RNA and would kind of get us distracted from what we were really supposed to do. So I'm glad to see this, and I'm thankful to everybody in RNA who helped with this. In committee, there was talk about putting in an extra clause about RNA being able to kill resolutions. I don't think that's necessary, since the clause starting in line 104 says something along the lines of that. My one problem with the resolution was the line that Senator Durnell just talked about, which was line 116. It's not a big deal, but I feel like leaving it kind of open-ended at the very end ruins the point of having a charge. So may I have a follow-up?
Yeah.
Move to remove line 116.
All right, there's been a motion by Senator Tarallo to strike line 116 of the resolution. Is there a second? Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right, seconded by Business Manager Parsons. Senator Tarallo, your authorship.
Yield.
Anyone for the amendment? Senator Durnell.
Yeah, I guess to rebuttal this a little bit, the reason I put that in there is because there is discretion to the charge of any committee, and it is up to the chair. That's just kind of a known thing. So to put it in there or not to put it in there, that's still functional. And there, I mean, I could have put a lot more charges in there, but the ones that I put down are the ones that I wanted to be in writing that are really the most essential to the committee. So that's why the last clause is in there, because it's going to happen either way, but I'd rather see it in writing. It's also written like that for other committees in the bylaws. So it's nothing out of the ordinary to put in there either.
Any more discussion? Business Manager Parsons. Wait, sorry. I've got Senator Corkish.
Basically what Senator Durnell said, as someone who's chaired and been on a number of committees, discretionary decisions are not something that you can really avoid in any way. And I think it's better to have it shown in the charge of the committee so that if something were to come up later where the chair does have to make a decision, it's in writing so that they have that opportunity, and that I don't want to necessarily say power, but I guess that's the only word coming to mind. And I think this is like a really crucial part of this resolution, so I would be sad to see it go away.
Senator Flanagan.
So I think that the charge that's currently in place is very pointed and gives a lot of great direction. And I don't think that having further charges be up to the discretion of the chair is going to conflict with the really great pointed charge that Senator Durnell has written.
Business Manager Parsons.
Yeah, thank you, Senator Durnell, for providing clarification on that. The only qualms I had with it initially was just that any further charges would just be solely upon the chair. I would just say like any amendment to our bylaws could be done through a resolution form. So I just thought this last line might be a little misleading in that, someone could charge RNA with doing something at any other time. But I do think that there does need to be flexibility for the chair to be able to exert that. So thank you for clarifying that.
Senator Anderson.
Yield.
Any more discussion? Any more discussion? Last call. All right, we're going to do the same procedure that we did during the last amendment. All those in favor of striking line 116 from the resolution, please signify by saying yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
All of those opposed.
No.
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 Abstentions. All right, Secretary Shovel, will you just take a roll call vote?
Yeah.
One second.
Point of parliamentary inquiry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can we just clarify what a yes/no vote means?
Yes vote is striking line 116. No vote is keeping line 116.
Senator Medina.
Pass.
Senator Nelson.
Yes.
Senator Ream.
No.
Senator Rink.
Rink.
All right, Senator Tarallo.
Yes.
Senator Anderson.
Yes.
Senator Borgasani.
Yes.
Senator Bowles.
Yes.
Senator Corkish.
Yes.
Senator Durnell.
No.
Senator Flanagan.
No.
Senator Fulton.
Yes.
Senator Gluckert.
No.
Senator Gregory.
No.
Senator Hahn.
No.
Senator Jimmy.
No.
Senator Johnston.
Yes.
Senator Kiefer.
No.
Excuse me, Senator Medina again one more time.
No.
Okay. And then Senator Rink again.
So can you type in the chat what your vote is, and Thor can write it down.
Can you not hear me right now?
Oh, there you go. Okay, please type in the chat like your speaker is muffled or something.
Business Manager Parsons.
Yes.
President Belcher.
No.
Oh my God, it's 10-10.
Wait, no, I screwed up. I voted wrong. You need to switch my vote. I don't, like, my vote's no.
It's up
And
to
I
the
said yes.
discretion.
What?
It's up to the discretion of the secretary if you want to allow that.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So the vote fails 9-11 to 0.
Okay, I'll allow that. Again, if you have questions about what you're voting on, it's great to do what Senator Torello did and ask specifically what you're voting on. That way you don't have to change it. Next on my speakers list, I have Senator Flanagan.
Yeah, I think that this is a great charge and a great resolution. I didn't feel comfortable sponsoring it just because I didn't feel like I contributed as much as other committee members might have. But I still think it's really good for RNA, having served on RNA. The only thing that I'm curious on how the Greater Senate feels is possibly adding something into the charge that includes RNA not forwarding on resolutions that the Senate should not see. So whether it's resolutions that would violate ASUM governing documents or otherwise.
Senator Hahn.
Yeah, I think this is a great resolution and well written by the author as always. I just have one question on line 12. For the purpose of fine tuning line level items, maybe rather than fine tuning something a bit more concrete, like improve, calibrate, perfect, I wonder if the author has any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I originally I didn't have originally the phrase fine-tuning line level edits, including but not limited to spelling, formatting, punctuation, and sentence structure wasn't there. And what I put was for the purpose of making derivational changes. However, the committee decided to remove it and replace it with that after 2 amendments and about an hour of discussion. So it was kind of a definition that was getting to people, and this is what they'd come up with. If I don't know, if anyone has any recommendations to change it, I am just going to encourage to make it brief because we did discuss it for about an hour in RNA, and I think most of it was just battling definition and like certain senators like kind of trying to create their own interpretation of a definition that was already in place, or concern that other people wouldn't be able to understand the word if it was presented in the bylaws that way. So I do understand those concerns though, and thanks for bringing that up.
Senator Torello.
I'm sorry, I'm muted. Yeah. If you once again look at line 104, it says the Relations and Affairs Committee may choose to table, to forward, or not to forward a resolution to the Senate. That would imply that the committee has the power to, in the event they come upon a resolution that they think shouldn't be seen by the Senate for one reason or another, they can not forward the resolution. So there's no reason to add another clause. It would just be repetitive.
Senator Johnston.
So I guess I might be in the minority with this, but I am against this resolution. It just feels like RNA, it becomes I'm trying to tread the words I say. It seems like they just become a bylaw fixing committee, which I don't really know if that's the purpose of RNA. I think RNA is for the relations of affairs of ASUM. I think this becomes the, resolution editorial committee, and I'm personally not for it. And if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to hear them out, but I'll be voting no for this resolution as it's.
Sure, no.
Yeah, for some of the recent concerns that have come up about killing resolution, I would like to point out, I think most of that for me was addressed by removing the do pass or do not pass recommendations, because it kind of eliminated some of that bias that was associated with sending something to the floor. And I think in the end that will also eliminate the need to like kill a resolution based off of bias as well. And I do understand that it's notated in line 104 that you can kill it, but I think the questions prompted was, when do you kill something? that again, you know, I want to respect the fact that the Relations and Affairs Committee does have discretion over things. It's not just a bylaw review board. It does have some actual say in the content of a resolution, but that has to be in respect to the intent of a resolution. And if that can't be done, there are measures in place to counteract that. But it might as well be codified in the bylaws. And that's why I see great importance in this resolution, because RNA cannot be a mini Senate. That is completely disregarding the will of this Senate body and what it does. It's basically just electing some elite group of like 4 or 5 senators to predetermine decisions about a resolution or its fate and completely kill it. We have seen one resolution be completely killed before it even saw other committees this year. That's what I'm trying to prevent here. I'm not trying to reduce the functions of RNA. I'm just trying to make them codified in the bylaws.
Senator Nelson.
I respect what the author has tried to do with this resolution, but I also worry that this resolution and this charge will diminish the powers and the capabilities of Relations and Affairs Committee. I think I would have been okay with this resolution prior to some of the edits that the Relations and Affairs Committee made to this resolution by trying to outline every teensy thing that Relations and Affairs can and cannot do. I think in elaborating what the Relations and Affairs Committee can or can't do, it eliminated a lot of the power and a lot of the discretion that we were left with, which I think will ultimately weaken ASUM and will weaken the Relations and Affairs Committee and will bring weaker resolutions to the floor if that's what's to occur. I also, based on what I'm hearing from the author, based on like the intent of this charge, I don't even know if it's necessary, unfortunately. It sounds like the intent is to make sure that we aren't changing the intention of resolutions. However, there's 2 safeguards already in place. One safeguard is enumerated in House rules where the author of a resolution can basically claim that the intent of their resolution has been changed by the Relations and Affairs Committee to an extent that's far beyond what they expected. Another safeguard would be the Vice President. The Vice President can send resolutions back to committee if they think that a relation has been charged or changed far beyond the intent. And so for that reason alone, I'm just not sure that this charge is particularly necessary. I think if we were to have a charge that outlined exactly what the Relations and Affairs Committee should and shouldn't be doing, I would ask that it's a little less specific to allow discretion. And the reason I say that is because I've seen firsthand what the Relations and Affairs Committee has been able to do when it is given discretion. In fact, some of my own resolutions have been edited heavily within the Relations and Affairs Committee for the better, that's made them passable. One instance that I'm thinking of in particular that the Relations and Affairs Committee took on this year was the resolution written by Senator Flanagan.
So I'm gonna
that wanted to make like student groups that
so
were
I'm gonna rule
co-curricular,
that dilatory if you can just not reference specific senators.
Okay, well, okay, I guess the point really is just that the Relations and Affairs Committees in the past has made substantial edits to resolutions that has ultimately made them better and has made them passable, even if it was against like the initial intent of the author. And I think that by outlining very specifically that we can only really adjust for grammar, removing clauses that violate governing documents and trying to just amend therefore clauses to strengthen and clarify the intent versus perhaps altering whereas clauses and therefore clauses or adding or deleting therefore. Like, I just think that because this dives too far into the specifics, it weakens the ability of Relations and Affairs to conduct itself properly and produce strong resolutions that the Senate is seeing. In addition, I think that this puts a lot of pressure on the Senate to make really large changes that might prove to be effective or that make resolutions strong when in the end that's the job of the Relations and Affairs Committee. I also agree that I think that this does reduce the Relations and Affairs Committee to a small editorial board, which to me seriously weakens one of the strongest and most necessary committees in ASUM. So I'm going to be voting no for this, unfortunately.
Terrell.
Yeah, so I'm going to disagree with the concerns brought up about this resolution. This does not really take any powers away from it, far from it. B1 and B2 clearly state other major powers that the RNA committee retains. And then it also later on in the added section 3 talks about strengthening or amending clauses to clarify the intent of the resolution. That's another major power. I think, this has been a problem for RNA for the last 2 years that I've been on it, both as an SAL and as a senator. And I think this kind of clarifies the confusion. This isn't saying that grammatical changes are the only power that RNA has. It just says that they should be kind of a primary concern. I think this will really strengthen RNA in the future, but also stop it from, as it was put, by being a quote unquote mini Senate. I disagree. I think the Senate should be making the big changes. I don't think a small group of 5 or 6 people should be overhauling resolutions. I think those bigger discussions are for the full Senate. Otherwise, knock off the amount of senators that you need to have, and or just have the RNA committee in charge of it all. I mean, really.
All right, Senator Flanagan, if you can make this quick.
Can you just put me to the bottom?
Yeah, I can. All right, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to go, let's take a 7-minute break, be back at 8:04. Go howl, everyone.
I also just sent a chat in our Facebook chat about elections, so please look at it.
I think that's the worst sound I've ever heard in my life.
My dog is freaking out.
God, my throat hurts.
My dog's like, where is everyone talking? Why is
I thought
everyone yelling?
that was somebody doing the howl thing. I didn't realize that was an actual dog.
No, he wasn't doing that. Someone was howling, but he's like freaking out because everyone's howling. He's like, what is going on?
I saw a cat. What's his name?
Jack. He desperately does not want to be in my room, but I'm forcing him to stay.
You're like, no, stay here.
You should tell him to run a write-in for Senate. Yeah.
I agree.
He could probably get like 5 votes.
Name Jack
or more.
He'd probably get on.
That's somebody
Yeah,
I
he
can get
would.
behind.
No, we can't joke about that. It's sad.
I'm voting for Jack the cat.
Jack the cat. Well, I will know
Only
when I see
senator I'm
you.
I feel
voting
personally obligated to tell everyone that Jack is not a fee-paying student, and therefore your vote would not count.
Yeah, that is true, actually. You could write in whoever you want, but
Rip Jack the senator.
Please, for my cat.
You guys want to place a bet on how many times people write in Tiger King for?
Well, me and Morgan can tell you. Me and Morgan will report.
Okay.
I'm planning on voting for someone from Tiger King. I'm not sure who though.
Great. I'm glad that we're
Everyone from Tiger King
wasting our
is
votes.
a horrible person, and we should not support
What
that.
about the husband with 3
Animal
teeth?
use and supporting villains, and it's not.
What?
But at least we'd have a full Senate though.
Most of the mock election is about Tiger King because I asked Shane to do that. So if you go
thought
through the
your-
mock election, it would be funny.
I thought your kitty fee was very hilarious.
Shane made it up, but I was like, you should put the Tiger King on that.
What's up, you kid? What's up, you cat?
What's up, you cool cats and
Cats
kittens?
and kittens.
Carol
I'm not-
Baskin here.
I
killed my husband.
I'm gonna vote for the remake version of Mufasa, not the original, because why not?
Not the remake. Oh,
I'm waiting for Mallory to send me a video of Nora howling, and then I might cry. So just be prepared, because I miss her.
Anytime you deal with Nora, you cry.
That is a very true fact. Because she's so gosh darn cute.
Oh, that howling really hurt my throat.
Brian, I thought you said every time you deal with Noah, you cry. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, no, every RNA meeting, I just get off the RNA Zoom chat and I call Brian and I just cry. I go, ooh.
You know, Noah can be a lot at times. Like, there's days where I just have little mental breakdowns thinking of him.
All right, we're gonna start back up in a few minutes. I'm gonna message the group chat. But if you are back, please turn your picture on. Hopefully you all howled for a good minute or two. Even if you're not in Missoula or Montana, maybe if you're like, I don't know, somewhere else.
Texas?
Yeah, Texas.
Texas.
Yep, I definitely did howl.
Are they doing it other places? Because I know they're doing it in Billings, but are they doing it in other states? Is it like a national thing? I don't know.
They were just talking about it actually, Melissa, on MSNBC. I heard New York City was and it was like
Oh
roaring.
yeah, I did
thunder.
see that it was in New York City.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Okay, guys, here's Nora
Austin is doing it
in the
as
bath
well.
when she was a baby.
All right.
Isn't she pretty?
I'm gonna look at everyone.
Here's another
All
picture
right.
of Nora.
It looks like we got pretty much everyone except for maybe a few. So I'm going to go ahead and start it back up again. So I call this meeting back to order at 8:05 p.m. And next on my speakers list, I have Senator Johnston.
Oh, I was not expecting to get cold on my way, but that's fine.
I can move you.
No,
to the
you're
bottom if
fine.
you want.
You're fine.
Okay.
You're good. I guess I want to clarify my point. I might have come across a little murky. Is I see this as there could be. This resolution makes potentially controversial resolutions that could be workable. Like they become, you just do minor adjustments to them to fix spelling errors or to what I think are strengthened can mean a whole list of things. And so I think that where we've had certain potentially controversial resolutions be sent to RNA that became significantly more votable and significantly more appealing to the Senate, which should in turn mean significantly more appealing to the student body. And so I think that this resolution weakens the ability to essentially make those resolutions more votable and more Senate appealing, because that's the whole thing. We could have 100 resolutions come through, and if all we do is do spelling and grammatical errors and then strengthen the resolutions, which that can mean a lot of things. And I'm not saying it's going to be all negative, but it can be where we have potentially more controversial or more robust discussions needed on them. I think RNA is a good filter for those resolutions. And so I would highly encourage the people that are on the fence to take a stronger look at this resolution. Thank you.
Journal.
Yeah, I'd like to take a second to amplify the part that I added for amending whereas clauses and therefore clauses to strengthen or clarify the intent of the resolution. I think that is very open-ended in and of itself, and I think it gives the committee still great discretion to make the changes that they see fit that to strengthen a resolution, as long as it doesn't violate the intent. And you know, the reason I added that section of the House rules was to clarify that there were already actions in place. And that was as a result of previous discussion from the Senate meeting 2 weeks ago and from committee. I did want to add something in there that that made it not okay to change the intent of a resolution and like not passable in that means. But since it was already placed in governing docs, I took that section out. That was pointed out in committee as well. So that was why I added it in there, not to say that it's not the Relations and Affairs job, but to say that there were already actions taken there and that there's an already written response to some of the concerns that had come up. And as far as the amendments that were made that would lead anyone to not vote for this, you can still make those amendments to this resolution, and I encourage it if you want to continue on and discuss that. It did just warrant a lot of discussion, and at the end of the day, what's highlighted in line 111 in section 3, those are all very true things that the RNA committee does, and it's not excluding anything that the RNA committee already does. It's just more clearly defining it, and up to this point, we've had nothing to reference in the RNA bylaws. When I wrote my do pass, do not pass recommendation resolution to remove those, I had no charge to reference as far as taking those out, so it was all sentimental, and I had to personally appeal and make large rationality decisions and logistical decisions to write that resolution. It was really difficult, and going forward, we just have to have a charge. So this is not reducing the actions of the committee, and I want to amplify everything that I discussed in section 3. Those are all very true to what the committee already does.
Senator Fulton.
Yeah, so serving on the RNA committee last semester, and after reading this resolution, I personally feel like I personally feel as if this resolution doesn't strengthen RNA at all. I personally believe that this is weakening RNA in many ways. I wasn't a proponent for the do not pass resolution because I knew that took power away from RNA. This is also taking away power from RNA, and I really hope people get the chance to reread this thing fully before the vote and actually come up with questions, because as of right now, I do not feel as if this resolution is benefiting our greater Senate body in general. I definitely feel like as if this is hindering the overall body, and I would much rather have RNA, which I would argue is the most important committee that we have, to be as strong as it needs to be, because as of right now, this is taking our strongest committee and making it one of our weakest. So I am not in support of this resolution.
Senator Anderson.
Yeah, so I am also deeply against this resolution. And I just want to address some of the things that have been stated. So RNA already acts like a mini Senate. It's part of the purpose of RNA. And even adding this line number 1, and allowing a group of senators to decide to forward or table or not forward a resolution is basically giving them the same powers as the Senate, because they ultimately decide if this greater Senate body sees a resolution or not, or even if other committees can see this resolution, if it's already been seen. Because if RNA kills it, like I've had bills in the past where RNA has killed it and the other committee it was supposed to go to couldn't even see it because it wouldn't matter. And so I think that is something to highlight. Like, they're already acting like a mini Senate, but I don't think adding this, I think adding this charge weakens this. Also, all of our governing documents are up to the interpretation of those chairs and those people. So if, like, for me personally, I'm reading this as we're allowed to do grammar, we're allowed to strengthen what the author says, and that's it. Like, we have to remove clauses that violate our governing docs. I don't see anything else being able to do. And so I agree with a lot of what's been said about this weakening one of our most important, if not the most important committee that we have. In addition, I just want to say, like, I understand that this is something that RNA already does, but authors are allowed to go to RNA. They're encouraged to go to RNA and talk about their resolutions. And so, like, I understand wanting to protect the intent of the authors, but they already have plenty of avenues to do that, either by going for themselves and voicing their opinions when changes are being made that are very against it. Like, Senator Nell has been gracious in allowing the chairs or the authors to do that and come in and speak during RNA, even if you're not a committee member. And they also have the House Rule section. So I'm just not quite, like, I feel like this does more damage than it does good for RNA. And so I'm strongly against this as well.
Flanagan.
So I think that the concerns that I'm hearing right now they come from a place of deep care for the committee, which is really humbling and I think is really cool. However, that being said, I do disagree with them fundamentally. I think that the discretion is there. I think it's in plain sight in the amendment. And as such, I don't think that the claims that people are concerned about this amendment, or excuse me, this therefore clause, I don't think that their claims really hold ground in what they're getting at and why they're dissatisfied. Moreover, I'm personally against the violations of intent that have taken place in committee. I feel that this resolution would greatly address that, as I've seen resolutions go through RNA and come out fairly gutted and really different from what was originally put into RNA, and that's something that I'm not sure I'm completely in favor of. I don't think that we should be making those considerations just to try to get senator votes. Moreover, I think that that's kind of a subjective claim to say that things are going to come out to be more votable. I think that that's kind of up for discretion on whether they are or are not more votable just because they are gutted by RNA. But above that, I think that we shouldn't be making resolutions just to be votable by the Senate. I think we should be making resolutions that are going to make really positive, beneficial change on the student body, and we shouldn't be trying to worry about what's going to please all, if not most, senators. I think that this resolution and the charge that this outlines is what is going to take that into consideration.
Senator Turallo.
Yeah, so when I read this resolution, both what's originally there and the amendments, it says it says RNA can more or less forward a bill or forward a resolution, table it, or kill it. It says that we can we can be responsible for recommending changes to the bylaws and personnel policy. Then it tells us grammar changes, this and that. It tells us changing whereas clauses and therefore clauses to strengthen them. That absolutely goes along with that idea of being more votable, if that's important to you. Plus, if you recall that one line that you all voted to keep, the last line that I was kind of against, I think that kind of covers all your bases for those of you who are concerned about having a little bit more open-endedness. And frankly, if there was any power taken away from the committee, it belonged to the Senate body as a whole and not just one committee. We cannot be a dictatorship of RNA. We have to have the committee be a committee and have the Senate be the Senate and make the bigger decisions. I think this is a great resolution. It's been a long time coming, and I hope you all vote for it.
Senator Corkish.
Yeah, I would just like to add on to that. The way that I read this resolution, I don't see RNA losing any power, but kind of to expand more upon what Senator Turallo said, I would say, in all my time on RNA, any time I've had on RNA, I've been a strong proponent of when we may have not been able to come to a solid vote to push it to the Senate and have the Senate make the decisions. on those like broader intent-based like amendments to resolution. I agree that that should be something that the entire body sees. And if it's just so happens that RNA can't make as crazy of changes as they have been in the past, I would see that as progress towards making sure that all senators have access to make resolutions what they deem is representative of what the student body needs, not just the senators on RNA.
Senator Johnston.
So I guess I should clarify some of the points I've made. First off, I think that it is important that resolutions are passable, because then you're just writing pointless resolutions that get sent. It doesn't do really any good to do political theater to write resolutions that won't get passed, in my opinion. But once again, that's my opinion, and I'm wrong a lot of the time. So we'll take that on the chin as you will. Furthermore, I understand that I have no experience with being on RNA, but I have I've been in the more controversial RNA meetings, I think, that have occurred this year, and I think that there were needed changes that have been either from my resolutions or other resolutions that I observed. And so I think that they were beneficial in having some more drastic changes to them. I think that if there wasn't those drastic changes, I think that potentially that I could have seen some of those resolutions not get passed on the Senate floor. And so I think saying that RNA doesn't do this already is, I think this resolution is really admirable in what it's trying to do. I just think it's missing the mark on what really needs to be in there, and it really is. There needs to be something along the lines of giving RNA the ability to change things that are not going to be okay. There's just certain things that are not passable. There's certain things that I think that the majority or 2/3 or 3/4 or whatever number you want to come up with, the Senate would agree is not okay to do. If hypothetically I came out with a resolution that condemned one of our agencies, from my interpretation, I would read that as you would strengthen this to make that resolution okay. I understand that there's point 1 that they could still kill this, but from what I'm reading this as is you would check for spelling, you would check for punctuation, and you would strengthen this resolution. It would not violate any of our government documents, because I as a senator can condemn all the agencies I want, and you can have therefore that would strengthen the clarity of the intent of the resolution. But if I had a resolution that was ASUM condemns ASUM circus agency, we couldn't that's the intent of the resolution. That would be the intent. So I don't know how you'd strengthen that. So I personally, using my dramatic and over the top example, I am not in favor of this, and I highly, highly implore others to look at this more, whatever the word is.
Flanagan.
Yeah, so I'm a bit more confused by the concerns now, I'll be honest. I think that in such a situation, it would probably be best to either kill the resolution or forward it on to Senate. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what the commenter was getting at there. That being said, getting on to the point that I was hoping to make currently, I think that RNA would be harmed much more by not having a charge as it currently does than it would be by having a clear charge as it would. As such, I would urge all of ASUM Senate to either vote yes on this resolution, or if they're concerned, send it back to committee, and we can start to brainstorm more on how exactly to get this resolution to a place that we can all agree with. I don't think voting this down is a good idea. I think it makes much more sense to send it back to committee rather than vote it down, just because then we can get a much more, we can compromise. And I think that compromise is very important on Senate. So I urge you either vote yes or move to send it back to committee.
I'm going to read my speakers list and cap it. I got Anderson, Terrell, Durnell, Fulton, Nelson. Would anyone like to get on it at this time? I'm going to allow I'll allow Senator Anderson to speak, and then I'll, after she's done speaking, then I'll officially cap it. So you'll have time to text me, Senator Anderson.
I was going to yield.
Okay. I'll give you all 10 more seconds before I call on Senator Torello. Great, it's capped. The other people added were Johnston and Flanagan. Next, I have Torello.
Okay. To quote the commenter themselves, the hypothetical that was just brought up is an extreme, over the top, over dramatic hypothetical. However, in the event that something like that ever came to RNA, RNA still holds the power to table a resolution or not forward a resolution to the Senate. So that power to hold really extreme bills back is still there. The purpose of a committee is to vet resolutions before the full Senate has the final say, because it should be the full Senate that has the final say. You see this in all kinds of governing documents, whether it's our governing documents or Constitution, whatever you want to look at. There are primary charges, and then there are certain powers that can be used in extreme situations. In an extreme situation like that, you have Section B, Section B, Part 1, where it talks about the RNA committee being able to table, forward, or not to forward a resolution. I don't see any actual feasible scenario where a ridiculous bill like that would actually get past RNA. But that is the exception, not the rule. And so I think killing this bill altogether because of a hypothetical like that is ridiculous. For those of you who aren't solid yeses on this, I concur with other senators. Please do not kill this outright. Please send it back to committee. I would rather see this resolution in RNA 2 or 3 or 4 more times than never see it again. So please do not vote no on this resolution. Either vote yes or vote to send back to committee, please, because I think this is too important to kill.
Durnell.
Yeah, I've been kind of sitting by and waiting to hear any proposed amendments, because there's been a few sentiments at least that are against this because they think it weakens RNA or because it doesn't have enough content for what RNA does. In writing this resolution, I considered everything that RNA does, and really this puts it all into perspective and puts it all into writing in the most simplest terms it can possibly be. Without a charge, I see the committee as weaker, and with a charge written, I see it as stronger because there's something in writing to back what the committee does. And what the committee does is already essential. I'd also like to point out that the committee is not made up of robots. We don't simply operate based off of what the bylaws say. It's not like if the bylaws doesn't have something or does something that they're just not going to be able to operate at all. So to put in all these hypothetical scenarios and make a claim for what happens, I frankly see it as extremely overreaching, and a lot of the sentiments I've just found completely untrue. This is not weakening the committee whatsoever. 1, 2, and 3 really point out exactly what the committee does, and I hope everyone in the committee can see that. Given the fact that we've had plenty of time to look this over, and the people who've spoken out against this haven't made any amendments that they've asked for to strengthen this or to make it something that they would pass, I don't find it appropriate. And then I also don't find it appropriate to send it back to committee because of that. Please vote yes. And please ask me any questions you have for the remainder of the people who are on the speakers list.
Fulton.
So after reading this reminds me a lot of the K-12 English Standard, 3rd grade, section 6.5, where you teach students how to use commas, periods, semicolons, and all of that, and how to strengthen sentences. I do not feel as if this should be basically English class. I feel as if RNA needs to keep its powers, and I understand the concern when it comes down to the charge, but this isn't a very good charge, to be honest with you. I don't agree with it. And for the previous senator that stated, why don't we make amendments? I personally cannot think of amendments to potentially make this better. I think of it as amendments to where it just would weaken RNA more. That's my opinion on all of this. So you may not agree, people on this body may not agree, but that's how I'm reading this. I'm reading this as if we're in English class.
Nelson?
Yeah, I guess to speak to why I didn't make any amendments, I think if I were to make any amendments, they would be ruled dilatory for going far beyond what the original intent would have been. Again, if I were to make a charge for this committee, it would be far less specific, pointing out every single thing that we can and cannot do. And I understand the point that those of us on the committee are not robots. However, we do have to be mindful of our governing documents and we cannot violate our governing documents. And because this resolution is so specific in what it lies out and what we can and cannot do, I think that really confines the amount of work that we can do in the Relations and Affairs Committee, especially in the motions that we can or cannot make. We have to be mindful of the bylaws when we're making amendments. Now, if this is to go through, and anything that goes beyond strengthening or clarifying the intent of a resolution would be a violation of the bylaws and potentially rule anything that we do in that committee far beyond the bounds of the bylaws, invalidating exactly what we do. I also want to point out any points that have been made about RNA being a mini Senate. The fact of the matter is that anybody can show up to RNA to voice their opinion. We're a committee that in the past has allowed many people to come in and voice their concerns, and we've worked with these many different peoples to make the changes that are necessary to get resolutions to the floor to the point where they are passable and to the point where they're good for the student body. The Relations and Affairs Committee exists to make changes that are positive for the student body. I don't think that we make changes in RNA that are pro or against certain senators. We make changes that make resolutions passable, enforceable, effective, or a positive benefit to the student body. That's what we do in RNA. And the fact of the matter is that this charge weakens our ability to make significant changes that could be positive for the student body or that could be positive for ASUM as a governing body. So those are kind of my points against this charge. I appreciate the work that has been done, but if I were to go about it, I would do it very differently. I think, especially in addition to taking away our ability to pass forward resolutions with do or do not recommend options, this was something that I voted against. I see this as severely weakening the ability of the Relations and Affairs Committee to conduct its work in a positive manner and in a manner that's positive for ASUM as a governing body. And so while I appreciate the work that's been done, I would ask that we try to take a strike at this.
Okay. Nelson, can you repeat some of the last part? You kind of blipped out there at the...
I'm not sure where you might have not been able to hear me or at what point.
Just at the very...
Yeah, that's okay. It was kind of like a glitch the last 2 seconds, so I think everyone got
okay.
Your Senator Johnson.
All right, so I got a lot of stuff to say. I'm sorry that it has to wait to be the second to last person to say it. So first off, I said that it was over the top. That was the point. That's the point, to show that that's the best way to make a point, is to show the most dramatic and over the top. I can use a more specific point, but then it gets called dilatory, and then that becomes a problem. So I was trying to come up with a over the top to demonstrate my point. I also didn't make any amendments, and I apologize to the office for not voicing this earlier. I just thought that any amendment I made would be ruled dilatory, and I didn't think that that was appropriate for anybody's time or use, and I think that it kind of would have been a waste of breath, so to speak, just because I'm not trying to waste anybody's time. Furthermore, I think sending it back to committee maybe potentially proves my point of like trying to make it appeal to the Senate. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's the whole point of like making this more appealing. I don't know, and like maybe I'm misinterpreting everybody's things, but sending it back to committee makes it more appealing to the Senate, which if I understand, you're sending it back to RNA, which that would be RNA's job, is to make it more Senate appealing. I don't know. I thought that was a little ironic, but that's a whole nother can of worms. Furthermore, from my understanding is when you have a charge for a committee, the committee follows it pretty strictly and pretty vigorously. And so from just the charges that were presented, I don't see anything where they can strike or greatly change a resolution. And so that's why I'm against it. If there was something along the lines to make it where you could greatly change a resolution, then I would have been more appealing for it. However, I don't see that. And so therefore I will be voting no on this. And I hope to goodness that we can have some more productive talks about the charges of RNA, because I think this was well intentioned. I just don't agree with the charges that were presented. Thank you.
And last on my speakers list, Senator Flanagan.
Yeah, I'm all for having more productive talks for the charges of RNA. I think that's a really good idea. I think that a lot of concerns have been brought up here. And I think that a lot of them can be answered in a variety of ways that didn't potentially come up tonight. I would have liked to see a bit more compromise tonight. I think that a lot of the concerns are answered within the actual content of the amendment. I think the amendment shows a lot of discretion for the committee that the Senate isn't currently considering. As such, I think that it makes the most sense to send this back to committee so that we can clarify and strengthen the intent of this resolution, similar to what this amendment says. As such, may I have a follow-up?
Yes, you may.
Move to send this back to committee.
There's been a motion by Senator Flanagan to send Senate Bill 71 back to the Relations and Affairs Committee. It's been seconded by Senator Terrell. Senator Flanagan, your authorship.
I think I stated it pretty well. Yield.
Would anyone like to talk about this? The CAP speakers list does not apply to a motion or an amendment, so you can text me and get on the speakers list. I'll give you all a couple seconds. Senator Terrell.
Yeah, please. We're definitely willing to try and compromise with those who are maybe on the fence with this resolution or are against it. We're definitely willing to try and fix this resolution. Please do not kill it outright. Please give this resolution another chance. And also, with that being said, if you had problems with it and are maybe open to changing it a little and not just outright killing it, please show up to the next RNA meeting.
Senator Johnston.
I'm sure everybody's sick of my voice, so I'll try to make it quick. The only reason I would send it back to RNA is to essentially gut this resolution, which then that kind of goes back on what this resolution is. So I think it's a weird loop that I'm in. So at this point, I don't really know what to vote. I'll probably be voting no to send this back to committee so we can vote on it.
You're no.
I'll also be voting no to send this back to committee. I'm a little disheartened that the people who spoke out tonight didn't have recommendations or amendments to make, or didn't voice their opinions earlier or send me any concerns. So this was like, basically all of these concerns just came up right on the spot tonight. And these could have been addressed earlier. But yeah, it's pretty clear based off of the discussion that sending it back to committee wouldn't be really a compromise because there's either an agreeal or a disagreeal on this resolution. And the fact of the matter is that what's put in the resolution right now is what I see as best functioning the committee in the future. And there aren't a lot of things that I'd be willing to change about it either because I disagree with those who disagree with this resolution also. You know, vote as you will. At the end of the day, if it does go back to committee, I'm definitely open to hearing concerns and seeing some actual productive amendments coming forward. Otherwise, I'm encouraging everyone to vote yes on this resolution because as it stands, it's very strong and compelling for the Relations and Affairs Committee.
Flanagan.
Yeah, so I understand the author's concerns with sending it back to committee. I would still urge senators to vote yes on sending it back to committee, as I do think a lot of these concerns did kind of come up on the spot, and I would like to give this resolution time to actually address those concerns. I do understand that there might be those senators that are more openly opposed to this are in favor of gutting this resolution, which is again ironic, and I would hope not to see that on the committee floor. However, I would be more in favor of seeing senators that are kind of on the fence coming to RNA and voicing their concerns so that way we can reach a good compromise. Again, I'd really like to stress the idea of compromise. Thank you.
Any more discussion on the motion? Last call. All right, we'll do the same thing like we've done the 2 other placard votes, or the 2 other voice votes. If it's close, I'll just ask Secretary Shelver to do a roll call vote. All those in favor of sending Senate Bill 71 back to Relations and Affairs, please signify by saying yes.
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 All those opposed?
No.
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 Secretary Shelver, yeah, abstentions, and then I'll call for a roll call. Secretary Shelver, roll call vote, please.
1 second. All right. Senator Gregory.
Yes.
Senator Hahn.
Pass.
Senator Jimmy.
No.
Senator Johnston.
No.
Senator Kiefer.
No.
Senator Medina.
No.
Senator Nelson.
No.
Senator Reen.
Yes.
Senator Rink.
Same.
No. Oh, abstain.
Abstain.
Excuse me. Senator Tarallo.
Yes.
Senator Anderson.
No.
Senator Borgasani.
Yes.
Senator Bowles.
Yes.
Senator Corkish.
Yes.
Senator Durnell.
No.
Senator Flanagan.
Yes.
Senator Fulton.
No.
Senator Gluckert.
No.
Senator Hahn.
No.
Business Manager Parsons.
No.
President Belcher.
Yes.
Oh, 1 second.
I vote.
1 second. I'm having some issues with the counting thing. I had to add a new sheet.
Okay, all good. Give you a little time.
All right. Motion fails 11 to 8 to 1.
All right, so the motion fails 8 to 11 to 1. 11 no votes?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, so motion fails 8 to 11 to 1. That brings us back to the main speakers list. It's capped, so Secretary Shelver, will you please take a roll call vote on Senate Bill 71, resolution creating a charge for the Relations and Affairs Committee and the ASUM bylaws?
Senator Hahn.
Pass.
Senator Jimmy.
Pass.
Senator Johnston.
Can you do that again, Senator Johnson?
No.
Senator Kiefer.
Abstain.
Senator Medina.
Yes.
Senator Nelson.
No.
Senator Reen.
Pass.
Senator Rink.
Yes.
Senator Tarallo.
Absolute yes.
Senator Anderson.
No.
Senator Borgasani.
Abstain.
Senator Bowles.
No.
Senator Corkish.
Yes.
Senator Durnell.
Yes.
Senator Flanagan.
Yes.
Senator Fulton.
No.
Senator Gluckert.
Yes.
Senator Gregory.
Yes.
Senator Hahn.
Abstain.
Senator Jimmy.
No.
Senator Reen.
Abstain.
Business Manager Parsons.
No.
President Belcher.
Yes.
Division of the Assembly.
That's a roll call vote.
The motion passes 9 to 7 to 4.
Okay, so Senate Bill 71 passes 9 to 7 to 4, and since it's a roll call vote, that vote will stand as that's the last step before our division. Since all right.
Point of parliamentary inquiry.
Yeah,
Could we do a motion to reconsider the vote?
you can absolutely do a motion to reconsider Senate Bill 71 if you would like.
Move to reconsider Senate Bill 70.
Would you like a follow-up, Senator Fulton?
Yes, I would. Move to
Okay.
reconsider Senate Bill 71.
There has been a motion by Senator Fulton to reconsider Senate Bill 71. Is there a second? Is there a second? Last call for a
second.
seconded by Senator Nelson. Senator Fulton, your authorship.
That was a very close vote, and I personally feel as if the overall Senate should be voting on this and not abstaining. I understand people can abstain if they choose to, but I definitely feel like when it comes to this resolution, everyone should vote either yes or no on this.
Terrell.
We had a very lengthy discussion on this, and then we voted on it. There's no need to reconsider the vote.
Flanagan.
Yeah, if any of the people that abstained are thinking about changing their votes, I would get on the speakers list now and say that you're thinking about it. Otherwise, I'm not interested in reconsidering. It'd be kind of just a waste of time. Moreover, I don't really like the idea of doing a reconsideration just because we're not happy with the turnout.
Johnston.
Yeah, I agree with Senator Flanagan's point of not doing a reconsider if it's unhappy. I just felt that there were some votes that there was quite a few passes to my understanding, and there's quite a few abstentions. And so that's where I feel it's a little out of the ordinary with this vote. And so I'm in favor of a revote if someone else decides to say that they're like, if any of the abstentions or any of the yeses have any more stronger, or any of the no's for that matter, if anybody has a stronger opinion or like feels they need to hear more about it. But other than that, I think it would be frivolous to do this. But if one of the yeses, no's, or abstentions has a change of heart, this would be a great time to voice it, please.
Nelson.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be a poor loser with calling for reconsideration, and I certainly don't want to open up discussion again, but I think this is a really large change to how Relations and Affair will be conducting itself in the future. And so for the 4 abstentions, I would like to see some input there. I understand I don't want to force you to vote, but I would just like to see some input there. And it was a relatively close vote. It will have major impacts on how ASUM is run in the future. So that's my point.
President Belcher.
I don't think we should have a revote. And yeah, I just don't think it's necessary. We just discussed this for a really long time. And if we do, and I hear previous sentiments, I'm not going to be a happy camper.
Any more discussion on the motion to reconsider? Last call for discussion. All right, since this is the first time that we've done a motion to reconsider, it's a majority, so 50% plus 1 for us to reconsider Senate Bill 71. So all those in favor of reconsidering Senate Bill 71, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All of those opposed, same sign.
No.
No.
All right, I'm gonna do the opposed votes again. Everyone unmute your mics. All of those who are against the motion to reconsider, please signify by saying no.
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 Okay, abstentions.
Abstain.
Okay, I am going to say that that motion failed, but if you would like to call division, you can call division.
Division.
Okay, division's been called. Secretary Shovel, will you please take a roll call vote on the motion to reconsider?
1 second.
Parliamentary inquiry.
Yeah, go ahead, Senator Terrell.
Please clarify for everyone what a yes/no vote means.
Yes, so a yes vote means you would like to reconsider the resolution, and we will go back into the main speakers list of the resolution, which is capped. A no vote means that we do not reconsider Senate Bill 71 and we move on to new business.
Okay. Senator Kiefer?
No.
Senator Medina?
No.
Senator Nelson?
Yes.
Senator Ream?
No.
Senator Rank?
No.
Senator Tarallo,
No.
Senator Anderson,
Abstain.
Senator Borgasani,
No.
Senator Bowles,
No.
Senator Corkish,
No.
Senator Durnell,
No.
Senator Flanagan,
Nope.
Senator Fulton,
Yes.
Senator Klukert,
No.
Senator Gregory,
No.
Senator Hahn,
No.
Senator Jimmy,
Abstain.
Senator Johnston,
No.
Business Manager Parsons,
No.
President Belcher.
No.
The noes have it 2 to 16 to 2.
All right, so the motion reconsider fails. That now moves us into new business. Please text me. Yeah, please text me if you want to get on the speakers list for new business, or shoot it in chat to me. Also, just please be respectful that we're still recording. Senator Nelson.
Okay, I have one resolution amending Article 5, Section 13 of the ASUM bylaws.
Okay, one resolution amending Article 5, Section 13 of the ASUM bylaws. And I'm assuming you want that sent to Transpo as well as Relations and Affairs?
Yeah, that'd be great.
And then can you please give a brief description?
Yeah, so I'm amending the bylaws that outline what the Transportation Board does to include the ASUM Sustainability Coordinator as an ex officio member. I also made some other amendments to adjust the general makeup of the board that I'm excited to see discussion on in transportation this Friday. And then I also condensed the bylaws to be a little bit more reflective of how we see other committee makeup and board, just the way it looks elsewhere in the bylaws. It's so yeah, just adding Maddie's position and then making some small adjustments so that it reads similar to other bylaws. So.
Any more new business? Last call for new business. Great, seeing none, I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by
Second.
Senator Tarallo,
Second.
seconded by Senator Anderson.
Unanimous.
And unanimous consent has been called. Is there any discussion or objection? Discussion or objection, discussion or objection. All right, seeing none, the meeting is adjourned at 8:49 p.m.